Florida's heartland, where citrus groves meet vibrant caladium fields, a single red brick building has stood as Lake Placid's cornerstone for a century. Opened in 1925 as Lake Placid School, Building 100 at 500 East Interlake Boulevard. It has been more than a place of learning, it is the soul of a community. As it celebrates its 100th anniversary this October, we uncover the stories woven into its walls, tales of resilience, mischief, and a town bound by education. This is the history of a place where lessons shape just not minds, but lives. Hi, I'm Randy Paeplow. I'm going to be your host as we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the building that is behind me. Now, I know about this building because I began my journey here in 1960 and then graduated in 1972. I had the privilege of returning in 1994 as a director of the Lake Placid Center of South Florida State College until my retirement in 2024. The story begins in 1925 in what was then Lake Stearns, a frontier town of lakes, groves, and families chasing the Florida dream. The two-story brick school opened its doors to grades 1 through 12, a hub where all children of all ages gathered together. In 1927, inspired by Dr. Melville Dewey of Dewey Decimal fame, the town became Lake Placid, welcoming northern visitors to its warm winters. The school stood at the center, emphasizing not just reading and math, but the power of words. Supervising Principal William Ritchie was quoted in a 1927 Highlands County news article saying, "Good English prepares us to meet all the outside world. Soon, good English clubs fill classrooms for all subjects, teaching students to speak clearly, even on the playground and home." In a small town with big dreams, language was a bridge to opportunity. Sylvia Bowers Marine attended Lake Placid School from first grade. Sylvia is a lifetime resident and a member of the Lake Placid Historical Society. She recalls the school's deep roots in her family story.
My grandparents, Swain and Frances Bowers, moved here from South Carolina in 1927. He built a very good reputation in this town. He opened a car business. He opened up as a mechanic and service station to begin with. Within a few years, he expanded that, and he was also able to acquire the Chevrolet dealership in the early 1930s.
Sylvia's family ties to the school run deep, reflecting its role as a community anchor.
Swain had more of a interest in the early development of the school system. You know, he was a pioneer, you might say, in that area. He also was on the school board of Highlands County, representing the Lake Placid District.
Recently, Dee Dee Cruz Stidham and Betty Dundee Coynier, now 103 years young, came back to the school to reminisce.
When we moved here in 1932, my dad's job was changed in January of 32. I went in the 4th grade, and Dee Dee's mother was my teacher.
I graduated from Lake Placid High School in the gym in 1955. Mr. Pardee was our principal, and it came time to give out the diplomas. We had 13 in our graduating class, and it came time to give out the diplomas, and they forgot to bring them over from the office of school. So there was time out while somebody came over and got the diplomas, and then we were able to be graduated.
I graduated in 1941, and there were only 10 in my graduating class, 3 boys and 7 girls.
But hard times tested the community. The Great Depression struck in 1929, closing banks and forcing many Highlands County schools, including Lake Placid, to end the school year early. Graduation was held on April the 29th, a bittersweet moment. Yet the school's sturdy brick walls stood firm, a symbol of endurance. Through the 1930s and 40s, as Lake Placid grew with citrus, cattle, and palladium farms, the school expanded, adding wings, classrooms, and corridors alive with energy.
Back in the 40s, after they'd done away with the auditorium here, they were putting on a minstrel. Of course, that's off limits, you don't do that now. But they did it in the Pope Theater. Charlie was one of 4 in a quartet, 4 guys singing. I think they called themselves the Singing News. But anyhow, they made up the words to this little song about all the school teachers. You know, they'd sing and they'd say, you know, so and so. They got called to the principal's office the next Monday.
One time on Halloween, my brother and a whole bunch of boys put a cow in the school for Halloween.
They were all great teachers, but some have left a more memory than others. But the one that really stands out was my high school English teacher, Mrs. Covell. She was a legend here, very prim and proper lady. You did not get by with any bad grammar in her classroom whatsoever. And she was just very relatable, and I think she kind of got a kick out of some of our antics, I think, but she was wonderful. And she was also sponsor of the FTA, Future Teachers of America. So my senior year, I was president of that club, and I've got a great picture of her and I together, and I just really treasure that. It was a group picture of the other officers as well, but it's just a reminder of that time period, and all the students loved her. She was a great teacher.
One of the things I've never forgotten about Miss Severance that I talk about, she made it, we had to write essays, and I hated to write essays. So one time she mentioned the essay, and I said, I don't have time. She looked at me and she said, you've got all the time there is, it's how you use it. And I've never forgotten that, because I thought I could get away with it, but I didn't.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Nancy Oxer Davis, owner of Lake Placid Western Wear, has deep roots in Venus and Lake Placid. She comes from a family of cattle ranchers.
My father was Bob Oxer, and he graduated from Lake Placid High School in the 1940s. He moved up here and started with beef cattle in Venus. I have 4 brothers and 1 sister, and we all attended Lake Placid schools and graduated from Lake Placid High School.
Nancy shares a mischievous memory from her father.
The school has 2 levels, 2 floors, and there's a fire escape on the east side of the 2-story building. And he and his buddies one time, after hours, took apart a teacher's car, took it up the fire escape and into the top and put it together on the top floor, and then left. And I don't know if they ever figured out who did it, but I know he was one of them. That's a story he told, so I believe it.
In the 1940s, the school added the gym and was a vault of memories. It became the town's heart, hosting Friday night games, proms with crepe paper streamers, and more. Nancy remembers the school's tight-knit spirit and the fun they had.
The school was very much community-oriented. I had some of the same teachers my dad had. My kids had some of the same teachers I had, which was just really unique. It was very much community. If you did something wrong, your parents knew it before you got home. They had dances, we had Interact Club, we had Key Club, we had 4-H. I was in the very first Interact Club of the school, and now my Rotary Club sponsors the Interact Club at the high school. I can remember when we used to have the donkey basketball games in the big gym. The players, and I don't think they were high school people, I think they were like parents, would ride the donkeys and try and shoot baskets from off top of the donkeys.
Basketball was the sport, and Lake Placid always had a good basketball team.
They did.
And it was When the gym was built, we went into it in 1950. We thought we had died and gone to heaven. Oh, we had a gymnasium, but the first game, the lights went out during the game. Well, they had to call, I think it was Mr. Austin.
Could have been.
And this was a nighttime game, of course. Come in and figure out how to get the lights turned on again. But that was the first basketball game there.
But see, we didn't have a gym. And you know, they played the basketball games out on Lake Road there, you know,
and if the ball went in the south side of the court, they had to retrieve it from the lake. And then they finally built a court, a concrete court, down in Devane Circle. And the first night, that was such an improvement. The first night they had set up temporary bleachers, and it was full of people. And all of a sudden, it just gently started falling down. Nobody was hurt. Amazingly, nobody was hurt. Yeah.
I went to first grade and 12th grade in the same classrooms, which was pretty cool. One of the places to hang out was in front of the gym, you know, those big steps, and then, you know, those seats, I call them. Everybody would sit on those seats.
We had about 350 students from first grade through 12th grade. So we were one big happy family.
Mm-hmm. No, but her sister, Virginia Lee, I was in the band too. We had one person in front of the band, and it was her sister.
The drum major.
As a drum major, yes.
And she had to have her skirt down here. She couldn't have it.
Oh, no, no.
What instruments did you play? You said you were in the band.
Clarinet. Doesn't every woman play
Well,
a clarinet?
and I
Squeaky
played.
clarinet.
Believe it or not, I played a cornet.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, Charles Payne and one of the Donald Devane, and there were about 3 or 4 of us. I wasn't very good because I didn't like to practice.
But, you know, things like that stick with the kids. I mean, you get an education, and that's what it's about, always. But you remember the good times, you know.
After classes, kids gathered at Lake Placid Drugs for fresh, made-from-scratch cherry cokes. Frank Hartzell, owner of Hartzell's Meat Market, recalls lessons that lasted a lifetime from school. One lesson was when Frank was on the football team.
So he was a good coach, and one of the things I learned from Coach Phillips was we'd be out there driving the sled, and sometimes it wouldn't move for an hour. Hit it and roll and hit it and roll. But you know, one of the things I did learn from him was that you don't give up. You just keep going. You just, you know, the hotter it gets or the harder it gets, you just hit it again and keep going. And I think that has helped me a lot through the years. You know, just you don't give up. You just keep hitting that sled and going forward, and you'll have little you know, trips and things through the years, but you get up and you learn from your mistakes and you keep going.
Dee Cruz Stidham, class of 1955, whose family, along with her husband Charlie, the pharmacist, owned the drugstore, embodied the town service ethos as Frank remembers.
I grew up knowing Charlie and Dee Stidham, and you know, Charlie would tend and doctor people, you know, mothers with new babies, and he'd go in there, he'd get a call and go in there at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning for some medicine for the babies.
That's the kind of community this was. As senior class vice president in 1972, Tony Morris offers what it was like from the student leadership perspective.
We're in charge of, we ordered the class rigs for the classes. We made sure all the other officers were doing their job. For the treasury, we'd have meetings with the principal of the school every so often, and just to help the students have a better life there.
It was a simpler time.
Right. We had shop, we had band, home economics,
Some of the class, and we had, we learned how to type on typewriters, the old manual ones, yes. No air conditioning. So we became really fun and really close with the Nats. These wonderful group of students would call it what they call the Orange Crate Derby. And they would do that on Interlake Boulevard. And it was, our shop class would build these basically derbies, like the soapbox derbies. And they would come down the hill and race down Interlake Boulevard.
And of home ec, the girls in home ec, in those days, they would make their own cheerleading uniforms in home ec. And your classes would have magazine sales to raise money for prom. And
we went through desegregation, and it was the best thing that ever happened, man. I got to meet some really neat people. In fact, our valedictorian, his name is Bill Bird, he's now a physician. Lake Placid's growth demanded new elementary and middle schools, so they were built on the west side of town. Funding for junior colleges in Highlands County was authorized by Governor Hayden Burns in 1965. In the late 1980s, the original building transitioned into South Florida Community College Lake Placid Center. Later it became South Florida State College. It became a hub for adult learners, dual enrollment, and community education programs, carrying forth its legacy. Sylvia reflects on the enduring impact by growing up here, leaving, and then returning.
You will hear it. There's kind of a saying, it's like their heart has always been in Lake Placid, and it's true.
I began to work at South Florida State College back in 1991, and then in 1994, I became the director of the Lake Placid Center. I had the privilege of serving the college for 30 years in this building. During my retirement party, someone made the comment that between my student time and work here, it took me 42 years to finally get out of this building. As for the current services to the community and the future, South Florida State College Lake Placid Center Coordinator, Dina Capuano, shares her vision for the campus.
We have GED students. We have ESOL students that are learning how to speak English. We offer college classes, and we also offer community and corporate ed classes. So we are in the midst of, we have a CPR class that's available at the moment to register for, and the campus is also adding an Art Lab 27, that is going to be open to the community to be able to use. So we do adult ed, we do college courses, we do community courses, all kinds of things. And we also use our facility for nonprofit organizations. If they need an area to hold a large group of people, we allow them to use one of our classrooms. It's a mini auditorium style room, and they use that as well. My hope for the building is to create an atmosphere where students and the community actively use this building, and know that this is not just a place to walk in and take classes. It's a place to come in and learn and share and explore and use it as a place to help them.
As community members sum up about the school and folks involved,
I believe the school gave me and many students a sense of self-worth, a confidence of we can do what we need to do.
we knew our teachers and they knew us.
I think you made some lasting friendships. The building itself, it was quite a transition to start in this older building that was built in 1925 as a first grader, and then move into the newer ones that were built, you know, many, many years later. It was like night and day. This older building, which is beautiful and historic, and then you have the more modern ones, you know, almost two different eras, you know.
You know, growing up in Lake Placid was a blessing.
As a volunteer at the Historical Society, we have a nice selection of yearbooks that go back all the way to the late 1940s. And we do have some nice memorabilia there that we have, people have donated.
Education and this community are inseparable. And the community shows it by giving over $850,000 in scholarships to local high school graduates every year. Building 100 stands as a testament to a century of learning, laughter, and unbreakable bonds. Its story just isn't history, it's a promise that some foundations last forever. For South Florida State College, I'm Randy Paeplow reporting.
Billy Carlton, and he gave me my first kiss when I was 16.
Oh, right.
Oh, that was something.